Hush, little baby.
There's gonna be another killing tonight.
So the only thing that you remember about him is that he walked with a limp.
Yeah, and that's somebody, I don't know who, shot him in the arm with an arrow. It's been real hard for me to open up with anybody else since Erik. I really loved him a lot.
Oh, by the way, can you keep a leash on that son of yours, Justin? I'm getting complaints from the shop owners already.
Shopping is fun. I like to shop.
Keep it up!
We have absolutely no idea where we're going or what we're doing. There must be a billion vents that lead to God knows where.
Listen, there's still a bomb in this mall.
A bomb underneath the mall. Oh, come on. You're going to have to do better than that.
Look what you did to me. Look what you did to me.
Erik, look, we can compromise.
Look, up there! Who is it? Up there? Who is it?
No! Erik, no!
Hi, this is Carrie Littman from Phantom of the Mall. You're listening to Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to episode 58 of Hysteria Continues. And this time we're off to the mall with Phantom of the Mall, Erik's Revenge. And also we might be having another type of Erik's Revenge in the second part of our quiz coming up. Have you been studying, Erik?
No, I don't need to study. I know everything already.
Okay, well that remains to be seen. But, well, how are you doing, Erik, anyway?
I'm okay. I'm a bit tired from, stalking around the shopping mall killing people, but otherwise I'm okay.
That would do it for you, yes. And you've been putting some moisturiser on to after the horrible burns you had.
Yeah. Some oil of ole, whatever it's called.
Oh yes, okay, right. Well, we shall come. It'll be an interesting thing, isn't it? There was the only thing missing from Erik's Revenge was Toya, wasn't it? Really, because there was a Susie, there was an Erik. And there was a Justin.
I knew there was a Justin. I didn't realise. I'd forgotten about the Susie link. Yeah.
Yes. There wasn't a Joseph or Nathan, but you can't have everything. So, no. But how are things with you, Joseph?
Things are rainy.
Rainy?
And wet.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. What about with you, Nathan? Is it raining where you are? I suppose it would be.
Yes.
Yes. Well, we half of the Hysteria Continues is damp. Are you damp, Erik?
I'm not, no.
No? Okay. No. Right. Well, we've also, as you heard from the beginning, at the intro there, we have an exclusive interview with Carrie Whitman, who played Melody, the lead in Phantom of the Mall, and got a great 20-minute or so interview with her, and she talks about her time making the film, so that will be coming up a little bit later. But first up, I kind of guess we're doing this as because obviously this is the Transatlantic podcast, horror podcast, and there's four of us. Sometimes our plans clash, so we can't record next weekend, which is the weekend that this will be going out. So we're doing this a week in advance. So it's only been a week since we recorded last, so we probably haven't watched a massive amount. But Nathan, have you been watching anything of note in the last week?
This week I watched Axed, the story of a man who was loyal to his company and got laid off and goes on a killing spree.
Okay.
Wes said, that hits a little close to home. He's like, you're not going to try to kill me, are you? I was like, no, it's just a movie. But anyway, I liked it. I thought that there was some parts where it's a little long to start to get moving. There's a little bit too much talking before any action really begins. And some of the characters make some mind-numbingly dumb decisions, but overall, I thought it was a decent watch, and I would recommend it.
Is it? I keep on thinking it's not Axum, is it? It's Axed.
No.
Is that what kind of vintage is it? Is it a new film?
It's a new film, and it's British.
Oh, okay. I've not heard of that. Have you heard of that, Erik?
No.
Okay. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. But that's a recommend, is it?
Yes, I liked it.
Okay. Oh, anything else?
I watched A Haunted House last night, the new Wayans Brothers spoof movie.
Oh dear.
Scary
my
movie, it's not. I mean, I actually like Scary Movie, the original Scary Movie. I think it's got enough funny scenes in it, and it keeps me entertained. But unfortunately, this one, I maybe laughed out loud a couple of times. Other than that, it was kind of groan-inducing, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I don't think you could pay me to watch another one of their movies. I saw a Scary Movie once, and that was quite enough. But did you see? Was that at the cinema? Because that wasn't out that long ago, was it?
It's on demand right now. So
it went there fairly quickly.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. So we know what to watch and what to avoid. How about you, Erik? What have you been watching?
Okay, well, I watched 2012, which is Roland Emmerich's disaster epic about solar flares heating up the Earth's core and causing the crust to become unstable. So you get lots of earthquake and tsunami action, which is actually very, very well done. But the film is 2.5 hours long. And, you know, all the effects in the world are not going to prevent this film from being just incredibly dull. The human drama element is so drab and it's so sickly. You have characters who will stall in the face of peril to have a, you know, emotional conversation. For instance, John Cusack's character has to fix a vital piece of machinery towards the end, and he only has 2 minutes to do it, otherwise everyone will die. And he takes this opportunity to stop and talk to his ex-wife about how sorry he is and how much he loves her and blah, blah, blah. Ugh, I thought it was going to be vomit. So, I mean, it's eye candy for the effects, but, I mean, 2.5 hours of it, Jesus Christ. I wouldn't recommend it, no.
No?
No, I mean, I didn't like Independence Day. I didn't like Day After Tomorrow. God knows why I ended up watching 2012, but I did, and I got what I deserved.
Yeah.
I thought. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I thought 2012 was actually hilarious, unintentionally so, because how many times does this group of people face danger and get out of it, like, without a scratch? I mean, they face danger, I don't know, like 15 times in that whole movie.
Oh, at
and the
least.
kicker for me was when he goes down he's in the van, and the van falls into a fire pit, and somehow, not only does he manage to get out of the van, but he manages to climb out of the pit itself.
I know. Yeah, and like they're not just escaping danger; they're escaping extreme danger. Like the Earth is falling apart, and you know there's lava coming towards them, and there's tsunamis coming towards them, and somehow they manage to survive them all.
Yeah,
it's like they're a family of Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
But who apart from Roland Emmerich would have tsunamis crashing across the Himalayas?
Yes,
that's my
favorite. Have you seen it? Yeah.
Sorry. Oh yeah, yeah. No, I love it.
Oh, do you?
I love disaster movies. One of my favourite types of movies. I mean, I love 70s disaster movies, but anything with giant tsunamis or big earthquakes or anything like that, I love. And so it was complete eye candy for me. All the disaster things. I know what you're saying about all the trash, but the destruction of Los Angeles was so spectacular, and the tsunamis destroying the White House and things. I thought it was great. I mean, for what it was I thought it was a lot of fun. So it held my attention. I watched it at the cinema, and I've got the Blu-ray. But my favourite bit must have been when they were trying to get to China or the Himalayas, where these kind of boats, special boats, were kept, and hadn't the Earth's crust kind of moved 1,000 miles or something, because they didn't think they were going to get it because they're running out of petrol. But luckily, the Himalayas had moved towards them by about 1,000 miles.
I know that was a plot contrivance too far, I think. Yes.
Yeah, it made me laugh. But anyway, that was the only place that survived.
If it was 90 minutes long, I think I probably might have enjoyed it, but I just found it dragged for 2.5 hours.
Okay. Well, no, I kind of, it's a film. I love disaster movies, so I would more than happily watch that again. But probably in the minority. But what about you, Joseph? Any voice of dissent or agreements?
I have not seen 2012. I have no interest in seeing it. I'm not a big disaster movie fan. I think the last one I saw was the one with Pierce Brosnan. I think it was Dante's Peak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't really do anything for me.
Yeah. Well, you could say.
Are you a fan of Titanic, Justin?
I love Titanic. Yeah.
Oh.
Even though that old lady in it is just a liar.
Yeah, doesn't matter. I love it.
A bit of a tramp, if you ask me.
Hey, that's Nathan's line.
Yeah. Any disaster movies I really enjoy, because I even watched like Race to the Titanic, and I love Titanic movies. Before it became really popular, I was a real morbid child, and I used to have loads of books about the Titanic.
I went to a Titanic museum.
That's the problem I have with these disaster movies. I want to watch, lots of disasters, and like Erik said, I don't want to watch people, have heartfelt moments during disasters. I just want to see shit get fucked up.
Yeah, shit getting fucked up is cool.
Have you seen?
Yeah, I love that part of Titanic.
Totally cool.
Yeah.
I like the Titanic so much. I've even seen Titanic 2. Have you seen that?
No, how is it?
Where the replica of the Titanic gets hit by tsunami by collapsing that hits the boat after an iceberg collapses nearby.
Is the tagline, "Oh boy, here we go again"?
Or something along those lines. But there's an Australian.
Is it a what's the name of that company who makes all the cash-ins?
I think it's an Asylum picture. Or something.
Asylum, yeah.
Yeah. But there's an Australian billionaire who's actually making a replica of the Titanic, a real one, and they've already sold out for about 2 years worth of tickets. So you can see where that one's heading, can't you?
Do people that know the story?
Exactly. Wow. Yes. Well, there you go. So, but anything else, Erik?
Yeah, I watched Toxic Avenger again, which is the first time I'd seen it in about 20 years. It's a story of the janitor at a gym called Melvin, who's all weedy and he's bullied by the clientele there, and he ends up falling into a vat of toxic waste and turning into this kind of superhero. Now, I just can't warm to this film at all. I know there's a lot of fans of it out there, but I mean, trauma films have never been my cup of tea particularly, although I did watch Class of Newcomb High recently and I thought it was okay. It upgraded from being total rubbish to being okay. So I thought I'd give Toxic Avenger another try, but I can't. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I just find it really boring. So, and I mean, it's one of the least funny comedies I've ever seen, and I've seen Police Academy 6.
And Scary Movie. And Scary Movie, presumably.
And Scary Movie, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it for years and years and years. I think was it the sequel that had the blind, or was it the blind girl in this one?
The blind girl's in this one. I haven't seen any of the other Toxic Avenger movies.
I thought she was quite funny. I can't remember if it's the same actress that played her in the sequel, but again, I haven't seen any of them for about 20 years, so I don't really remember them. And Trauma, I'm just not, I just can't, my love of all things 80s, well, not all things 80s, but many things 80s, I still find it difficult to warm to Trauma. But what about you guys, Nathan and Joseph? Are you Toxic Avenger fans?
I love the first Toxic Avenger. I think it's so obnoxious, but it's funny. I mean, normally, I'm not a big Trauma fan, but I don't know, something about this movie I find humorous.
As far as the Toxic Avenger goes, I mean, I remember liking it, but I have no desire to really revisit it anytime soon. It was just a decent watch, I guess. But I was really disappointed when I read the history of the Toxic Avenger because Lloyd Kaufman wrote a book, and I think he said in his book that they were debating between making the Toxic Avenger and making a slasher movie at a gym. And I'm like, why did you not go with the slasher movie? I wanted to see that.
Well, mind you, didn't they make that with Aerobicide?
Aerobicide, yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't Trauma.
No. But
I've been curious to see how they would have changed it up a little bit. But now Aerobicide's brilliant. Don't get me wrong. It is a brilliant, intelligent film.
Of course.
Yeah. And I'm sure it'd be one you might be picking at some point in the future.
It's in a list of a long line of movies.
I imagine. So, Erik, anything else?
No, that was it.
No, okay. Well, thank you. Joseph, what about you?
Yeah, I've actually watched quite a few movies this week. I watched The Last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I thought it was really silly, but it was a lot of fun. It was really violent and just a lot of bloodshed, and I guess Arnie still has it, even though he's probably like 80 now or something like that. But it's just so preposterous that you can't help but kind of like it. It's just one of those types of action movies, unlike, something like 2012 where it's all schmaltzy. This is just unapologetic violence and silly comedy and things getting messed up and people getting shot in the head and blood gushing all over walls. And I don't know, I liked it.
Isn't it? Didn't it sort of flop really badly?
Yeah, it did. It's kind of like Assault on Precinct 13, except for it's in the entire town instead of in the police station. They basically just put up a stand in the town, and this guy comes through town. He's trying to get to Mexico, and there's just all kinds of gunfights and fist fights and things of that nature. It's really dumb and over the top, but it's really enjoyable.
Because quite a lot of those kind of action films haven't done very well, have they? I mean, that didn't the latest Sylvester Stallone one went down quicker? than
Bullet
Erik.
to the head. It didn't do too well either.
No, so it went down quicker than Erik at a Bob Hoskins lookalike conference.
Oi.
What?
It's true. It's true, but it's still very mean of you to say it.
Oh, I think you might have your revenge in a little bit, Erik.
I will.
What else have you been watching, Joseph?
Yeah, I watched this movie called Entity. It was from Fangoria. It's like half normal movie, half found footage movie. And I read a lot of really good reviews on it, but I don't know. It's one of those, it's like a slow burn movie, which I normally like. And this has some really good atmosphere, but it just tries too hard to be scary. And I don't know. I don't like that. It's like it thinks that, flashing a quick image of some kind of ghost is scary. I had the same problem with this film as I did with the first Grave Encounters, where it's got a lot of good build up, but then they just kind of go overboard with it. And I didn't really care about anyone in it, so it's a miss if you happen upon that.
Okay. Well, thank you for warning us. Anything else?
Yeah, a couple more. I watched the Maniac remake last night.
Okay.
And my God, I love this movie. I mean, it's probably the best remake I've ever seen ever. I mean, I'm not a big fan of remakes, but I really love this movie. I loved the electronic score. I mean, it's totally, Rick Wakeman doing something today. I mean, I wish more movies had a score like this. I mean, the whole time I was like, wow, I've got to get this soundtrack. And Elijah Wood is surprisingly just really, he does a really good job here. And, I like the original Maniac a lot, but I think I like this one even more. I mean, I would watch it again. It's that good. I liked it that much.
Okay. Is it quite mean-spirited like the original?
No, I'd say the original is kind of sleazy and kind of mean. This one's more like, I guess you'd call the Elijah Wood character here is not. He's more pathetic. Like, you kind of feel sorry for him because he's so messed up in the head. Whereas in the original, he just kind of seems like a dirtbag. But and it's gory, and it also it takes from the source material and runs with it, but it also adds its own kind of novel spin on things, where it's basically you're watching the whole movie through his point of view, and then really the only time you really see him is in like reflection shots and stuff. It's pretty neat. It might turn a lot of people off, but I liked it. And it is quite gory and graphic. So if you like that sort of thing, that'll be right up your alley as well. But yeah, thumbs way up on the Maniac remake. I loved it.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet. What about you, Erik? Have you watched it?
No, I haven't seen it yet either. But I wasn't really looking forward to it now. But after Joseph's review, it's piqued my interest. It was out in the cinemas here, I think, last month, so I should be coming to DVD and Blu-ray, fairly soon. So,
if nothing else, you will like the electronic score.
And Nathan, you've not seen it yet, have you?
No, but I can't wait to.
Okay. And you got another one for us, Joseph?
Yeah, just one more. I watched a movie called Upstream Color. It's the second film from the guy who did Primer, and this is a really, really weird movie, but it's I liked it a lot. I don't even know if I can explain the plot. Basically, this guy and this girl, they get like abducted by this con artist, and he puts this like maggot inside their body, and somehow he's able to control, he's able to control their thoughts and what they do. And they find each other, and they realize that they're connected because of this maggot. And then they also find out that this maggot is inside of a bunch of pigs at a farm, and it's basically being controlled by somebody who's basically got control all over all these people. It's sort of like a David Cronenberg type of body horror, but it's really surreal, and there's like very, very little dialogue, and it's mostly visuals. But it's not a movie I'd recommend to people who want to watch a straightforward movie, because you probably have to watch it 2 or 3 times to make sense of it. But it's really visually arresting, and I like the story. I think it's kind of neat. So if you like those types of, it's a puzzle movie. If you like those types of movies, I'd recommend it.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting. Have either of you seen it, Nathan and Eric?
No. Sounds good, though.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Right, well, thank you, Joseph. I'll just quickly rattle through what I've seen. I caught up with the last of you to see the Evil Dead remake, and we went, just as an aside, we went to get something to eat beforehand, and we're at a restaurant that was near the cinema, and we'd ordered sort of food, and we'd kind of, because it's all vegan food, and none of us would, well, I had a little beer, obviously, but the waitress said, oh, you get 20% off, you're going to see a film. And she said, oh, what are you going to see? And my friend, who's kind of this middle-aged doctor, she went, Evil Dead, like that. And this this waitress blanched visibly, because she obviously just wasn't expecting that, and she was making polite conversation, obviously hoping for a tip, and it took her about 10 seconds to regain her composure, and she's going, oh, I kind of like James Bond movies myself. But anyway, we went, got to see it, and I think a bit like with you, Eric, my expectations were kind of rock bottom, so I probably liked it more than I would have done if I'd gone in with high hopes, put it that way. I mean, it had lots of problems. And the biggest problem for me was, I kind of guess it's with any kind of remake, it's the over familiarity. I didn't find it scary particularly, if at all, actually. And I thought the thing they really fluffed really badly in the remake was the demons' voices. They were really creepy in the original, but in the remake, they just didn't work. They kind of, like, the quips they made, they just weren't, I don't know, scary, and they didn't. It's just something about them. It was off by something or other, and that kind of really jarred with me. But I enjoyed the gore. I thought, it's one of the bloodiest movies I've seen. I loved the rain, the it raining blood. I liked the main girl. I thought she was good, and her brother was easy on the eye. And so, I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't know if I'd bother buying it for, my collection, but yeah, I quite enjoyed that. And it's inspired me. I'm having, for my birthday coming up next week, I am going to have a cheesy horror movie night with pizzas, and I might make one of those Evil Dead pizzas. Have you seen those Book of the Dead pizzas?
No.
Yeah, somebody had made, the front of from the original with the face on the book, and someone's made a pizza out of the face.
How have they done that? With cheese?
With cheese and, tomato and various bits and pieces.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at images on Google now. It actually looks really good.
It does look good. So I might try and do that. There's some vegan cheese. But anyway, so that was my, finally catching up with that. And the other film, I can't remember I spoke about last time.
Wait a minute, you're not going to invite us?
Yeah,
I would do.
Invited?
I would do.
Yeah.
If you can make it over for next Friday, and obviously, unfortunately, people listening to this, it would have already passed by the time you hear. So I would invite you otherwise. If you can get it over here for next Friday, it starts at 7 p.m. And I'm probably going to watch a double bill of The Uninvited, which has links to Phantom of the Mall, and Happy Bunny, and various other bits and pieces. So
I was excited, and those are good movies, but I was kind of hoping Crazy Fat Ethel 2 would be in there somewhere.
And I was hoping for Dirty Dancing.
Yes, well, they are in there somewhere, in a bin somewhere out the back. But see, look, I've managed to insult 2 of you in one go. But how's that for anyway? So, but you're more than invited, and I'll tell you if you can't come, I'll tell you all about it, and you'll see the photos. So, but the other film, which I won't talk about much because we've talked about this before, and I can't even remember I talked about it last time, was Resident Evil Extinction, which really was
the latest
a load of
one,
pants.
isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It's so uninvolving, aren't they? I think when you're talking about 2012 or 2012, and at least attempts to have some kind of not moral compass, but sort of, some kind of heart to it, even if it's cheesy. But the Resident Evil films are just all spectacle and so hollow. And I remember, Eric, you talking about it, saying it's like watching a video game, isn't it? It's probably the most like watching someone playing a video game out of
because,
any of those
the story is built like various levels. Just to go to this dome to do this task, and then just go to another dome to do another task.
Yeah, and it's just So, but anyway, I thought, being a bit of a completist, I kind of thought I'd watch it, and it was a fun way to spend an hour and a half, of an evening. But I'm not sure if I can be bothered to watch any more of them. I don't know if they're going to make any more. I expect they probably will.
What did you think of the slow-mo in reverse opening credit sequence?
Well, that was good.
That was really spectacular, I thought.
That was great. I mean, it would have been interesting to see. Did you see it in 3D?
Did I? Yes. Okay. Yes, I did.
Because I imagine it would have been really good in 3D, the movie. Well, not really good, but it looked like it would have been quite a lot of fun in 3D. Mm-hmm. And certainly more so than flat. But yes. But anyway, I know we talked about that at some length before, so won't go over it too much. But that is what the Hysteria Continues crew has been watching recently. But now, before we get to Erik's Revenge, we have another type of Erik's Revenge, perhaps. Joseph. It's the second part of Joseph's quiz, 80s riddle quiz. So, Joseph, do you want to
dedicated
take it away?
to movie murderers, so you better get your knives out and study up.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, we're going to start with 1985, and Erik, you are in dead last, so you get to go first.
I'm only last by 1 point.
Nice.
Yeah. Would you want door number 1, 2, or 3?
I thought it was 2 points, wasn't it?
Well, Justin, you have 5, Nathan has 4, and Erik has 3.
Yeah. Yes, I'm only last by 1 point.
I see. Sorry, but you're losing by 2. Yeah, okay.
No, I'm losing by 1.
Okay.
I'll have door number 1, please.
Door number 1, okay. I'm sure to blend in with my environment, unless I turn my back to you, but at least I'm not yellow.
Oh. I'm sure to blend in with my environment.
This is 1985.
Okay. I'm going to have to guess The Hills of Eyes Part 2.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pass this to Nathan.
Yes, this is Nail Gun Massacre, is it?
That is correct.
Ooh.
Because he blends in with the camouflage, but if he turns his back, he's got a big yellow cord on his back. So there you go. All right.
Well done, Nathan.
Nathan is now tied with Justin. Erik, you have 3 points. Nathan.
Yes.
Door number 2 or door number 3?
Door number 2.
Okay. They say imitation is indeed the sincerest form of flattery.
That's it?
Yep.
Well, good Lord. Imitation.
Mm-hmm.
Who's imitating in 85? I don't know. I'm going to guess The Hills Have Eyes Part 2.
No, I'm sorry. Just
recurring theme.
Is it The Ripper?
No, I'm afraid not. Erik.
Is it Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning?
That would be it.
Of course. Yes.
All right, Erik is catching up. All right, Justin.
Okay.
You have door number 3, and we are one with the planets above, and so we must murder.
Would that be Blood Cult?
No, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Erik.
Would it be The Hills of Eyes Part 2?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone is
Erik's Revenge.
Pluto and Jupiter and...
Yeah, of course.
This really is Erik's Revenge.
Totally is.
All right, so who went just? It's Eric's turn. Eric, door number 1. This is 1986. 1, 2, or 3.
But it should be Nathan to pick first in this one, I think. Should it not?
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, Nathan. Door number 1, 2, or 3.
2.
2. Okay, you'll probably get this one. With these killers on the prowl, trust me, absolutely nothing can go wrong.
With these killers on the prowl, and you said killers.
Yeah, with these killers on the prowl, trust me, absolutely nothing can go wrong.
Okay, and if it's killers, then the only... Oh, no, wait, it's Chopping Mall.
That is correct. Nathan pulls ahead.
Yay.
Justin, door number 1 or door number 3?
Door number 1, please.
Okay. Don't call me a killer. I didn't kill anyone.
April Fool's Day?
That is correct.
Touche, Justin.
Thank
Justin
you.
and Nathan tied with 6. All right, Eric.
Boo.
You are left with door number 3.
Yeah.
Have you seen Linda? Are you Linda? You could be.
Have you seen Linda?
Stop typing.
I'm not typing. Blood Sisters. I'm guessing.
No, I'm sorry. That is incorrect. Nathan.
Spine.
That is correct.
Never seen Spine.
I just know it because of that tagline. He's looking for Linda, and that could be anybody.
Yeah. And whose fault is that, Eric?
What?
That you've not seen it?
It's Joseph's, obviously. He's supposed to be questions I know.
No!
What's that?
All right.
What's that,
Sorry?
Ron Howard?
No, Eric, no!
Oh.
Okay, Justin, we're on 1987. So 1, 2, or 3?
Number 1, please.
Number 1, okay. No, I'm not the front man from a famous rock band. Just a nut who appears to have a breathing problem.
Nut with a breathing problem. So it's something to with rock bands. Would it be Doom Asylum?
No, I'm sorry. Eric.
Would it be... I'm trying to think of heavy breathers from this era. And the only one I can think of is Justin. I'm just going to have a wild guess and say opera.
No, I'm sorry. Nathan.
Unfortunately, I can't think of much from 87 except The Last Slumber Party.
And that would be correct.
Oh.
What?
Well done.
The killer was played by Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler is the front man of Aerosmith.
Oh.
And he breathes funny when he has that mask on.
He does breathe funny. That's what I was thinking about.
All right. Nathan is well in the lead now.
Well done,
Well,
Nathan.
not well in the lead.
Yeah, well done.
Okay, Eric, door number 2 or 3?
2. Big number 2. Make it good.
Okay, you might get this one. Killing was easy. I learned how when I was possessed in another movie.
Oh, cheerleader camp?
That is correct.
Woo! Lucinda
that.
Dickey. That's one of my favorite subjects is Lucinda Dickey.
All right,
Dickey in general.
Nathan, you are left with door number 3. Now that they're all dead, let me play my favorite tune on that Steinway.
Night Screams.
That is correct.
Because she likes chopsticks.
Yeah. All right, we're back to Eric picking first for 1988. So 1, 2, or 3, Eric.
I'll have a big number 2 again, please.
Okay. 4? Technically 3 for me.
Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
That would be correct.
That was easy.
Yes,
No,
it's
it
very
wasn't.
easy.
Oh, shut your
That was
bitchy
super
mouth,
easy for Eric.
Well,
Pardon?
shut your bitchy mouth.
All right. Nathan,
Did you
door
slap
number
your
1 or
ass?
3?
3.
Okay. How long do I have to wait in here for someone to happen by? It's freezing in here.
Freezing in here? Geez, well, see, I don't know. I mean, if freezing just makes me think of iced.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, iced is my final answer.
And that would be correct.
Oh.
Easy. That was easy as well.
So easy.
I got the freezing part, but I didn't get the waiting part.
Well, he's waiting inside the snowman at the end.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so Justin, you were left with door number 1. You might get this one. I made a delicious rhyming pun that you should not mess being a stand-in for an expletive, with me.
Whoa, that's a mouthful.
Oh yes. Well, well, the only one that comes to mind for that would be Psycho Cop.
No, I'm sorry. Eric?
Child's Play.
Yeah, that's it, because don't fuck with Chuck.
Oh.
So,
how many points do I have?
You have 8.
How many does Justin have?
Justin has 6.
Yeah, Justin's not complained once.
Yeah, it's funny that, Eric,
no, he has not.
Because I'm a good loser.
Yeah, you're so brilliant, Justin. Oh, we all love you.
Mind you, still behind Nathan.
Yeah, by 2.
I don't care. I'm ahead of you.
All right, last year, who goes first? Who went first last time?
Me.
Eric. So Nathan, door number 1, 2, or 3?
1.
Okay. You might say I am in love with my job so much that I'd kill for it.
Intruder.
That is correct. Okay. So Justin, 2 or 3?
I'm going to go for Eric's number 2.
Okay.
I knew you'd watch
Maybe I should have. Okay. Maybe I should have taught math instead.
Maybe I should have taught math instead. 1989.
Yes.
So some kind of teacher thing. I don't know. Maybe taught math instead. I could take a wild stab at Houseboat Horror, but I don't think that's right.
No, I'm sorry. Eric?
I'm going to have to take a wild stab in the dark as well and say Return of the Family Man.
No, I'm sorry. Nathan?
Cutting Class?
That is correct.
Of course.
With the math problem at the end.
Of course. Well, at least Eric didn't get the point.
Who was first on that one?
It's my turn.
It's your turn?
To answer a question.
That's right. You're left with number 3. Okay. Casting Neil Armstrong as the killer might have been a bit on the nose.
Moonstalker.
That is correct.
Woohoo!
All right. Nathan wins the quiz with 12 points. Eric
Well
comes
done,
in
Nathan.
big number 2 with 9, and Justin is dead last with 6.
It's all right, Eric. I don't mind.
He doesn't care if he wins. He just wants to beat Justin.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's fine because what's good about it is I won the first part of the quiz and Nathan's won the second part, and Eric hasn't won any of those bits. So, so that's how I see it.
How many points did I get in total?
I don't think it matters.
Nine.
I don't think it really matters, Eric.
I got 6.
Don't embarrass yourself. You know what will
you
happen
don't
if you
embarrass
do.
yourself. You're embarrassing yourself now. I'm absolutely mortified.
How can you just look at me like that and laugh at me? You're satisfied, I suppose, that Ralph couldn't come.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, thank you, Joseph, for that quiz. So, and it's I thought it's time that Eric was had his little revenge.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have it in any show, Eric, it had to be this one, didn't it?
Yep.
And it'll be the only time. So make the most of it. So, are we ready for the main feature? Missing, presumed dead in a fire which destroyed his home, Eric Matthews returns a year later to the site, now occupied by a massive shopping mall. Demented, even insane, Eric is obsessed with being reunited with his childhood sweetheart, Melody, and destroying the mall. A modern-day horror, tale of horror, which makes no apologies for paying homage to the classic origins, Phantom of the Opera and Beauty and the Beast. Erik is a tragic victim, don't we know it? Half human and half monster. Yeah, you heard that right. Trapped inescapably between extremes, which propel this story beyond reality into fantasy realms of chilling horror and explosive action in this multi-million-dollar production with special effects from the man responsible for The Kindred. Now, that's the back of the UK release from 1990, the video release on the Prism and the Fry's Distribution Company label. Phantom of the Mall, it's one of, I don't know why I suddenly remember this movie, but it's, I was just browsing my video shelves and there it was. And I remember watching this movie, it must have been 15 or 20 years ago, and I haven't seen it since. And I kind of had this vague recollection of enjoying the movie. So I thought I'd check it out. And I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, it's what it has, which I think was missing from some of the later 80s and early 90s horror, was it actually had a little bit of that kind of innocence, that kind of cheesy fun elements that were so prevalent in the early 80s and the end of the 70s as like teenage horror movies. It also, unlike many of the movies of its ilk, actually had a relatively decent budget behind it. So its tongue was definitely in its cheek. I mean, this is an idea of doing Phantom of the Opera in a mall. It was never going to be completely straight-faced, and also adding Morgan Fairchild to the mix was a classic bit of camp nonsense in the best possible way. So I really enjoyed this, and it was fun. It reminded me of films like Chopping Mall. Understandably, actually, because it was actually filmed in the same mall in the Valley. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm kind of interested to hear what people think. And of course, as Erik has already had his revenge once, Erik, what did you think of Phantom of the Mall?
I thought it was a 9 out of 10 as opposed to a 6, is what I thought. That's a little cunning reference to the quiz, in case you've forgotten already, Justin.
I haven't forgotten, but I can edit that little bit out, so carry on.
Anyway, like you, I saw this film, I saw it when it came out first in 1990, and I do recall enjoying it, but I have never seen it since. So, but I love the use of shopping malls in horror movies like Dawn of the Dead, and of course we've recovered The Initiation and Shopping Mall before. It offers a sort of nice expansive environment, but also has lots of little nooks and crannies for killers to hide in, which I thought was good. I grew up in what is called a city, in inverted commas. I think to you guys it would probably be a town or maybe even a village. We had a building, I'll call it, called Kilkenny Shopping Mall, which consisted of 4 shops. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a chemist, there was a dry cleaners, a greasy fast food place, and a really, really good video shop. Actually, probably where I rented this movie from. But I do have to say, I do really enjoy this film. I thought that there was not a decent amount of gore. There was some gore in it that I don't remember, and it probably was censored out of the original release of Phantom of the Mall in the UK and Ireland. But I mean, there's scenes where a guy's eyeballs pop out, and of course Morgan Fairchild gets her comeuppance towards the end in quite a spectacular way, and there's a decapitation in there. All these things I didn't remember, but there was a huge amount of stuff that did come flooding back to me, and I got kind of a wave of nostalgia over me. I mean, I love Pauly Shore's bizarre haircut. He kind of reminded me of Mick Hucknall from Simply Red. He kind of has that bushy, just got out of bed haircut. I'd completely forgotten about the wonderful Cobra in the lavatory scene. Only in the 80s, in an 80s horror movie, could something as ludicrous as that crop up in a movie. Keeping with the 80s theme, Morgan Fairchild's shoulder pads and her colossal perm, are reason enough to rent out this movie, I think. I mean, as Justin said, it's a classic move to cast her in the role of the mayoress of this town. There's some great power ballad, hair metal type music in there as well, and a brilliant closing theme song by a band called The Vandals, is it? I think they're called. That's right, yeah. Yeah, I love that tune. Now, Pauly Shore, I know it's kind of common to sort of mock him in that. I actually found him quite likable in this film, and he contributes one of the major WTF moments of late 80s slasher cinema when he starts playing with his nipples to distract a security guard, which is a move I might try next time I'm trying to distract the security guard. what else is there to say about it? I mean, I like the fact that Melody goes into a shop and sort of wishes she could afford a dress and then magically appears in her car. I mean, I wish that would happen to me. The times I've gone into like DVD stores and gone, oh, I'd love this like special edition of The Burning from Scream Factory, but I can't afford it. And it'd be nice if like an ex of mine was hiding in the in the ventilation shaft above and eavesdropping on me and then bought it for me. But sadly, that doesn't happen in real life. But my absolutely... Sorry?
Not yet.
Not yet, no. Maybe someday soon. I suppose the 21st century equivalent is for them to intercept your wish list on Amazon and buy everything for you. But my absolute favourite part of Phantom of the Opera is where the fabulous and quite sexy Erik gets to kill the horrible and greasy Justin. I think that's probably everyone's favourite part of Phantom of the Mall. I suppose the reason it's so close to my heart is that the character of Erik is so nice. Well, he turns a bit evil at the end, but he's the one who's wronged, and then Justin is the horrible, nasty one.
But that's nice. What I think that's the fantasy bit they were talking about on the back of the VHS cover.
No, I think that's the reality part of the film.
Well, I think people listening to that quiz earlier will now have seen Erik's true colours.
I'm brilliant at quizzes.
Erik, probably what he does when he's not on the podcast, he's downstairs in the basement lifting weights and kung fuing people, aren't you? Or things.
And
training.
That sounds quite ludicrous, actually. Have you seen the shape I'm in?
Well, I'm not saying you were doing it with any enthusiasm.
I'd probably, if I was locked in a mall, if I was living in the basement of a mall, I'd probably be eating all this pick and mix and, stealing all the chocolate from the supermarket and then going down and stuffing myself with them, rather than lifting weights and practicing kung fu.
Okay.
And I'd be putting Toya onto to the music playlist as well.
Gosh, that would be horrific, wouldn't it?
Be heaven.
Right. Well, thank you.
Well, no, I do really, really like it, and it was a nostalgia fest because it's a film that I hadn't seen for so long, and there were so many moments in it that came back to me as I watched it, including, as I said, the Cobra scene in particular. I remember watching. Do you remember Mariella Frostrup? Sorry, used to have a DVD review show on at about 2:00 in the morning on ITV.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cause I remember her reviewing Phantom of the Mall, and they showed that scene with the Cobra. And I was thinking, this looks right up my street.
Well, the thing, if you haven't seen the film, it's even better than that, isn't it? Well, not better, but the sleazy piano player, the would-be rapist piano player, gets bitten on the cock by a cobra, doesn't he?
Yes.
In the toilet. Although you don't see he's got bit, it's very clear what's happening.
Yeah.
Although you do have to wonder what kind of pet store in the mall would have a cobra.
Yeah, it's a bit...
Do they have cobras in pet stores in America?
Not that I know of.
No.
Well, it's also a mall that has a shop that stocks fully loaded flamethrowers.
That is true. And has propane gas canisters next to the flamethrowers.
Yeah, it's kind of an accident waiting to happen, really.
It is really. Mall. It's health and safety gone mad.
Yeah.
Well, not gone mad. The opposite.
Yeah, the opposite. Health and safety not gone mad.
Yes. Well, thank you, Erik. We'll come back and hear a little bit more from you. But interested to hear what Nathan, did you enjoy Phantom of the Mall?
I was in the same boat as you two. I saw it years and years ago and had forgotten about it. So watching it again was fun. I really liked the movie. I mean, it's not up on a tier with, say, Splatter University or The Last Slumber Party, but I did find a lot to enjoy with the film. Like Erik said, Morgan Fairchild's fashion and hair is just to die for in this movie, literally. This movie does play upon one of my biggest fears since childhood, and that is getting killed by an escalator. Because there's the classic scene, where, a guy is murdered by the escalator.
That's Poor Justin.
And when I was a kid, I was always afraid when I was on an escalator, it was going to catch my shoelaces and kill me. So I was afraid of escalators as a kid. So this movie did a really good job at kind of playing with that, even though that's not exactly what happened. Still, it was close enough. So yeah, that was a really good scene. And, like it's already been said, that fashion and hair, I found that more frightening than, anything that Erik was doing.
Really?
You know, Justin's hair was awful.
It was pretty bad, wasn't it?
I kind of liked Justin's hair.
Did you?
Really?
Yeah. It was
I
not
thought
as
Erik had better hair.
What, Erik didn't have any hair?
Pre-burnt or
Exactly.
yeah.
You know, but of course, like you guys said, I mean, I pretty much agree with what you guys have said. You know, I'm glad that we picked it because it was fun to go back and rewatch it for some of the ludicrous scenes, and you know, and especially for Morgan Fairchild. You know, I'm a really big fan of hers. I love it. You know, her character here is a little different. I love it more when she's just an outright bitch in movies because you know she's really good at playing like a mean, evil character. So I like it when she's just catty from beginning to end.
Right. Cool. Well, thank you. What about you, Joseph? Oh, sorry, Nathan. Have you finished, or was that?
All I was going to say is, you know, that I'm pretty much in agreement with what you guys have said. Fun movie, worth checking out.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Joseph?
Oh dear.
I don't know. I think I'm going to have to disagree slightly. Okay. I mean, there's a lot to like about it, but I just found the movie I thought it kind of took itself a little too seriously. I wanted more humor to it you know, usually I'm kind of anti-humor. Well, not anti-humor, but usually I think humor can ruin a film. But I think this one, some of the humor they went with didn't really work, and I kind of wanted a different brand of humor. And I think what really saved the film for me was, like you said, I mean, it's 1989. The fashions are just looking for any excuse not to switch over to 1990. So I think, you know, in a last-ditch effort, the fashions are always like totally awful in that year. And I got a kick out of that. And I liked a lot of the death scenes, but something about the movie just really didn't sit well with me. I mean, I don't know. It just like, it's missing something, and I don't know what it is. Toya. Well, but I thought it did. I mean, that burnt, ugly thing, wasn't that Toya?
Oh.
What was that? Joseph. Sorry, I missed that.
I thought it was the snake. The snake in the toilet was Toya.
See, Erik, I had nothing to do with that, did I?
No. You know, ganging up.
That's what you get for interrupting me.
Carry on, Joseph.
You're complaining about no humor in the film. What about Pauly Shore playing with his nipples? That's not taking itself too seriously, surely.
Well, no. I mean, I didn't find that really funny. I don't know. I don't find Pauly Shore that funny.
You would find it funny if you played with your nipples?
No, actually, I wouldn't.
Oh. I've misjudged you then.
Yes, you have. See, now, some of the scenes I did like, I liked how the Ken Foray playing the security guard. I like how he's always kind of jumping all over his like subordinates because they're always like watching stupid crap on the monitors, like girls undressing and people acting a fool. And I like that. And I like Morgan Fairchild. I just didn't really find the main girl or the reporter guy. I didn't find them interesting. I thought the killer was kind of weak. Here's a question I have. I know when you get burnt and your skin all melts and you lose part of your hair, and understandably it drives you to become psychotic, but how does it change your voice? And his voice is just kind of normal, and he's like, "No, I'm Erik because I got burnt. I talk like this now."
Burns your larynx or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So the fire went into his mouth and down his throat and burnt it?
Well,
he inhaled the fumes.
Okay. Well, okay, I'll buy that.
Just like Freddy. Like Freddy was, his voice was a bit off,
or
wasn't
Bonnie
it?
Tyler.
Or Bonnie Tyler. Or Toya.
And Toya's voice has remained impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there.
I guess I can buy that. But I think the fashions kind of keep it afloat. It's well acted, and Morgan Fairchild's good, but I don't know. It's just missing something for me. So I'm not going to say no, and I'm not going to say yes. I'm just going to kind of float down the middle.
Okay. Well, it's good to have a little bit of dissent, isn't it? I think a difference of opinion. We can't all love everything.
I do have a question though. Now, What was with the guy, the piano player, becoming a rapist? I mean, he's just kind of playing the piano in the background, and he tries to rape the girl, and then he gets killed by the snake. I mean, what was the point of that? There's no backstory to it. There's no reason why. I mean, I guess he's just some weird rapist who likes to play the piano. Did I miss something in my version? Or
you're looking for logic in slasher movie? You know, you've been talking about them.
I was kind of bored, so I was looking for something. So.
Well, I kind of guess it's just to add another bit of threat, wasn't it? So it's kind of wondering whether or not Erik was trying to kill Melody, or not. I mean, I quite like that character. Not like the character, but I like the fact that he was playing to all these middle-aged ladies. But in fact, he was actually, a nasty criminal, and then he gets bitten on the cock by a snake.
Yeah.
So it had
it's something for everyone. Yeah.
Something for everyone, yes. Well, it's interesting. I mean, one of the things, because I thought, funny enough, they having Ken Foray in there was a bit like kind of stunt casting, wasn't it?
Oh, totally. He's in it for about 30 seconds in total, I'd say.
And he really sleepwalks through that park, doesn't he? He's probably the worst bit in it, I think. I don't think he's very good in it at all. What?
Uh-oh. You've upset Joseph.
Well,
he's not that bad.
He's not that bad, but he's not exactly giving it his all, is he?
No.
The person who did give it his all, I think, was that very amazing stunt. Looked like it looked very painful. You know, when they're chasing around in the underground car park, or multi-story car park, and the
guy gets hit by the car.
Guy gets hit by the car and spins in the air and lands on the ground. And
I know. I couldn't believe that stunt.
It's obviously a real person, and so I don't know how.
And he's hit with great speed as well.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, the film has a lot of stunts in it for, because I think it cost about $2 or $3 million, and it kind of, they do a lot of kind of stunt work. I also really liked Rob Estey's kind of chase scene around the mall, because normally it's a girl being chased, isn't it? But in this, it's him being chased by the man with the earring, and which I thought was hilarious that they could work out that it was a killer because he had an earring. I thought
this was the 80s after all, so...
Yes, exactly. I mean, the other things... what did I... well, I thought it was obviously a nod to Nightmare on Elm Street, wasn't it? The whole dream... Because Melody has not one, but two dream sequences, isn't she? Where she wakes up from a dream, which I thought was kind of a definite, obviously, nod to the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and also Bad Dreams as well, which I think was made at the same year.
I like how the security guard guy that no one knows that he's employed there. No one knows who he is. I like how he's just chasing this guy, this Rob Estes character through the mall. And then there's that one guy where Rob Estes kind of gets away from him for a while, and that one guy kind of blocks his path. He takes his Jimmy Club or Billy Club or whatever you want to call it, and he just whacks an innocent guy in the face, and no one really says anything or does anything about it. It just kind of goes in the background. I thought that was kind of humorous.
Also the fact that
and he had really, really, really bad hair.
Well, it's very greasy, yeah. But I like the fact that Melody has told the police about this. Yeah, Melody has told the police about this guy and described him, and then he comes back to the scene of the crime a year later, and he's still wearing his trademark earring.
And he won't take it out, will he? Because the guy who's running the mall, he says, "You've got to get rid of that bloody earring," and he says, "Don't you dare," which is obviously very kind of attached to it. But I also like the fact that in the mall, there's all these people dying, isn't there? Because Eric's kind of killing all these other security guards and various people. Like every 10 minutes, someone dies, and no one takes any notice, do they? They don't seem to even notice that people are vanishing. Like the piano player's gone. You would have thought he would have been there for the big showdown, like Liberace with Morgan Fairchild. But no, he's gone. They don't even mention that he's missing, or anyone else who vanishes. Which that's what it is. But I thought it was quite that was quite funny. And I really like the 80s ballads that come throughout the film, don't they? So it's 80s, and also the way that Erik has the shopping mall has the most amazing CTV in the world, doesn't it? Because you can watch Melody wherever she is in the world.
It's like it's connected to somebody with a handheld camera, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they do that thing where they zoom in and they see the keys on the floor, don't they? When they're hunting for Melody after she's been kidnapped towards the end of the film. But I mean, you've already spoilt it with like spoilt it, but we spoiled the fact that Morgan Fairchild is, for most of the film, she's kind of sympathetic, isn't she? She plays the mayor of Midwood, who is connected to the mall and seems to spend an enormous amount of time in the mall. And she wears this most amazing blue spangly dress, doesn't she?
Very spangly.
Very spangly dress. And
commerce is very important to mayors.
Well, the thing that my favourite scene in the movie is when, right at the end, where she's played, the kids have gone and told her, and all the things they suspect, what's going on, and she's listened. She provides like the adult kind of ear, to them. And at the end, they say they kind of they run up and say, start saying Eric's here, he's killing people, blah blah. And then she pulls a gun on them, doesn't she, out of her handbag, in front of everyone who completely ignores them.
Yeah.
And she's got this gun right out. She's not even pretending and putting it in her pocket and pointing at them and saying, I've got a gun. It's just like she pulls out a gun and there's people walking around and no one bats an eyelid, do they? The mayoress has just pulled a gun out of her handbag and pointed it at two local teenagers. But hey-ho, that's the 80s for you. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good, fun movie, and it certainly, it didn't take itself too seriously. And definitely was a step up from the director's previous Doom Asylum anyway.
Oh,
I haven't seen Doom Asylum.
Well, it's quite
Doom
fun.
Asylum is brilliant in the same way that like Last Slumber Party.
Oh, right.
So there you go. Yeah, so there you go, Eric. That answers.
Yeah, it's brilliant in the same way that Last Slumber Party is not.
No, Last Slumber Party is brilliant too.
Well, is there anything else we want? Anything else we want to say about the film before maybe we cut to the interview? Is that a yes or is that a no?
I think Erik should have been the. I think Morgan Fairchild should have played Erik.
Well, one of the things I did mention in this interview, which you'll hear coming up with Carrie Whitman, who played Melody in the film, was just mentioned about. One of my favourite things in kind of low-budget horror movies is when actors or actresses are thrown out of windows and they are evidently like a 7-foot burly stuntman in a blonde wig and a blue spangly dress. And you can definitely see that happen with Morgan in this, can't you? When she comes flying out the window, that definitely isn't Morgan Fairchild dropping 30 foot onto a spike. But... well, why don't we take a break now and introduce you to Carrie Whitman, who was very kind enough to speak to me from her home in Beverly Hills. She was very, very tired, and I think she'd only had 3 hours sleep because she'd been doing stuff for her dog sanctuary. But she was kind enough to make time to speak to me, and so here is Carrie Whitman, who played Melody in Phantom of the Mall.
I think I just saw the guy who started the fire at Eric's house.
Where?
Here, in the mall. Look, he had the same medal you described to me hanging from his ear. Look, I got a picture of him. I want you to take a look at it once it's developed. There's something else wrong here, isn't there?
Yeah. First the flowers, then yesterday I go to my car and there was something left in my car. It was the same dress that I wanted to buy but I couldn't afford. Then, right before you came in, I went and I punched some numbers on the jukebox and this song started playing.
So, somebody screwed up the records in the jukebox.
No, this was Eric's and my song.
How did you get involved in Phantom of the Mall?
I actually used to be an actress and I auditioned for it. So, it was my first kind of lead role. And it was, Rob Estes was in it, who ended up being in Melrose Plays and Models Inc. and a bunch of those kind of shows. I think 90210 he was on for a while. So, so I just auditioned for it and I got it. It was kind of fun. A guy named Fries Entertainment was the name of the company. It's either Freeze or Fries, I can't remember how to say it. And they just ended up giving me the role, so it was kind of cool.
Okay, and what was it like, kind of auditioning back in those days in Hollywood? Because this kind of horror movie kind of came at the kind of the tail end of the boom of the 80s horror movies. Were they yeah.
It was kind of, it was pretty competitive.
Yeah, no,
like
I can imagine.
Really, really competitive, and a lot of people, a lot of people just being, hardcore about it. And, you have to go back 2 and 3 and 4 times in order to get the part. And even though the movie's kind of corny, it's, it's hard to get it. Really hard to get it, but it's kind of a cool, fun slasher movie. And, we shot that movie from 6 at night till about 8 in the morning every day in a shopping mall when it closed. So, we would just set up at about 5 in the hair and makeup and leave at like 8 in the morning. So I didn't see the light of day for a long time.
Wow. That must have been difficult because I know there's quite a few movies that have done that. I think Chopping Mall was another 80s horror movie that shot in the same mall. And I think they had a similar thing. Yeah.
In the Valley? In the Valley,
yes. I think it's exactly the same shopping mall they shot it in. But that must have been quite a challenge then, sort of doing... How long did the shoot? Because it was about... I think I'm right in saying it was September 1988 you shot it? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, we shot for about 3 months, 4 months. Wow. We shot and it was... we shot for about 3 months, and like I said, it was almost all... for the whole time that we shot, it was almost all for at night. So we never really shot the daytime, and we had to work around. At the time, Morgan Fairchild was a bigger star, and we kind of had to work around her schedule. So that was a little crazy, and she was late a lot, but she was she's a nice woman. So it was fun.
Yeah, because
we shot at night, and we did it for a couple months, and it was at a mall in the Valley here. So it was interesting.
Excellent. And because I watched the film the other day and haven't seen it for years and years and years, but I kind of really enjoyed it. Like you say, it's kind of it's a fun, cheesy kind of horror movie, isn't it? And it is. It's a lot of fun, and I love that kind of late 80s kind of feel to it. But I was surprised. I forgot there was so much stunt work in it. Did you do much of the stunt work yourself, or was that doubles?
There was. Because there's like a lot of fire and stuff. So yeah, no, I didn't do that much stunt work, but a lot of stunt people on it. I met a lot of stunt people. I did a couple of things myself, but they're, on movies, they're so, they're so particular about you're not getting hurt and stuff, which I think is really great, because it could be really bad and you could get really, really hurt. So they had a really good stunt team on there. I actually met a lot of cool stunt guys on that movie.
I suppose it must have been strange watching the person who was dressed as you doing the stunts. Were you there to see that?
Oh, it's so weird. Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah, really weird. And they, having like a wig on that's like long hair and, so yeah, that was super, super weird.
I can imagine.
But I think it's like that for anybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, of course. I imagine it's because Morgan Fairchild has quite a spectacular death scene in that movie, doesn't she? And however they try and get the stunt person, actually your stunt person, I think it looked a bit better than Morgan's, looked a little bit larger than Morgan did. But
my stunt person did?
Yeah, well, I think they looked. I couldn't see. I was trying to see if it was you, and it. They did that quite well. That kind of making sure it kind of merged together. Because sometimes you see, especially in kind of some more low budget horror movies, they have the kind of leading lady and falling out a window, and it's a kind of a 6 foot muscly guy in a blonde wig. They don't do it quite so well, but they did it well in this movie. So
yeah. So it's always weird to see somebody dressed like yourself, and I'm really little. Morgan's little too, So but it was a really cool movie. I ended up getting romantically involved with Rob Estes after that, so it was kind of a fun chapter in my life for quite a while. And he's a beautiful, beautiful person, and it was fun.
Yeah, no, I was going to say with the I got in contact with Derek Rydell or Rydell.
Oh, you did? You spoke to him?
Well, I sent him an email and said, would he like to do something similar? And he very nicely got back to me, but he said he was kind of in a different place now. So
really, where is it? What did he say?
Well, it was very brief, but
with him?
Yeah, I think he does. He's on Facebook. He's got like quite a big kind of company, I think, and he does kind of meditation style things. I think when I looked at it briefly.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm surprised you wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
wow,
well, he was nice enough to get back to me. So, but how was it? Because obviously the film's kind of based on.
Did you try to get a hold of Rob?
No, I didn't actually. I thought I couldn't find any way of getting in contact with him, but
call his agent.
Okay.
I'm sure he'd do it. I'm sure he might not, because it was like an old slasher movie. It was all kind of our first movie. I find it very funny.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to talk about it, because I think it's just the past is such a funny thing sometimes. But I don't know, Rob would be a good person for you to get a hold of, and Paulie would for sure, I'm sure, talk to you.
Okay.
He's doing this kind of reality show right now, and he's been, I've run into him a few times, so I'm sure he'd probably talk to you.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you wouldn't mind, if I sort of sent you an email, if you wouldn't mind just forwarding it to them, would that be okay?
I totally will, but I would try to reach out to like Paulie's manager. And, agent. I mean, they're used to all this stuff. Just say you're from the UK and you're doing a thing on slashers and, whatever. And, I just saw Paulie just came to my dog rescue last week, and just say, hey, I talked to Carrie, because he interviewed me about Phantom of the Mall. And then I got a thing from you, so I thought it was just so funny.
Oh, really? He interviewed you about it? Or
Yeah, for some show he's doing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he came to my dog rescue and interviewed me.
Yeah, excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about the dog rescue as well, because I said we talked before we came on air, as it were, that I kind of work in animal rescue and animal welfare, and you set up a dog rescue, didn't you? Can you want to say a little bit more about that?
Yes, I set up an awesome dog rescue. That's what I was talking about. Had to get off for 1 second. Yeah, Ace of Hearts Dog Rescue. We've been around since 2001, and it's a nonprofit. Good boy, Hank. It's a nonprofit dog rescue foundation, and we've saved over 2,000 dogs.
Wow, excellent.
And we're really, 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 just really, really good foundation. Really. LA, people don't realize that LA County has the highest kill rate of any city in America. And we kill 500 dogs here a day. And most of those, well, I'd say at least 60% of those dogs are purebred. You guys don't have this kind of problem in Europe like we do here. It's really awful. And I was raised in a very small town where we just didn't have these problems. And so when I moved to Los Angeles and found out about all this, it was quite a shock for me and very disturbing for me. And so I did what I do what I can on a daily basis to give back. And it's hard because it consumes my life. And so I'm up all night long trying to get emails done and trying to, et cetera, et cetera. But so it's been a really kind of crazy time for me, but I don't know how to not do it and how to, continue doing it sometimes, because it feels like you're up against the wall, against the government and everything all the time. But anyway, so I started that, and I started it in honor of my beloved dog, Ace. And it's very, 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 very heartfelt.
Excellent. Well, what we'll do, we'll put out the web address of that as well. So hopefully you can get some people to come across, and people in the area can hopefully support that. Just to get back to the film very quickly, just a couple of things you mentioned about some of your co-stars, so do you sort of kind of Hollywood, sort of Beverly Hills? Do you sort of bump into people quite often?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, sometimes we do. I mean, it's kind of a small little town here. You know what I mean? And we all kind of did you get that? We all kind of bump in. Going to events or whatever, like Polly coming to my dog adoption the other day, and, running into, just friends of mine from this crazy little, I call it an adult high school.
Okay.
It's a really kind of cool. I like living in LA. It's my home now, even though I'm from Colorado. It's my home now, and it's just become a really great place for me to kind of, feel like home again. So it's beautiful. The weather's beautiful. I always see my friends. It's pretty cool.
Excellent. I've been there a couple of times, and yeah, I agree. It's a great place. So, just say with when you were making the film, and obviously, was it how seriously? Not seriously, because obviously, being professional actors and actresses, you would take it seriously. But was it kind of seen as quite tongue in cheek when you're doing it? Did you see or?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a little stressful because there's so many hours that you're working, and everybody gets burnt out. We're a little sleep deprived and everything. So that's kind of the stressful part. So when you're done, just put that on his face. So that's always kind of a kind of a, it's tongue-in-cheeky for a moment, like shooting. Oh, I know, honey. Okay. Sorry, my dog has an ear infection. And it's hurting him. Hold on, honey. Hold on. So it's always tongue-in-cheeky in the beginning, and then it gets, everybody starts getting to know each other, and then the real true colors come out because you're working so much and you're so exhausted, So that always turns into kind of a crazy thing.
Yeah, of course, I can imagine. I mean, did the way the film ends, it's kind of quite odd in some ways for horror movies, because you actually, the four leads, apart from Erik, get away on a kind of quad bike style thing, don't they, before the mall explodes. Was there, I mean, in true kind of 80s horror movie fashion, the film kind of left itself open for a sequel? What do you know if there was ever any talk of? Yeah,
there was a talk about it, actually. There was talk about doing a sequel. And I think what happened was Rob got a TV show, I got another show, and it all just became apparent that our schedules weren't going to completely be conducive to that. So it became just kind of a little bit of a problem. And so I was kind of bummed, actually, that we never did that again, because there was a lot of talk about it. And Kimber Sessions, she was engaged to Richard Grieco at the time, who was on 21 Jump Street, and with Johnny Depp. And so, it just ended up, I don't know, it's kind of that young Hollywood thing where we're like, okay, if it works out, great. If not, but I was always kind of sad to see that, because it was my first big role. So, I don't know how great I was in the movie, but
no, you were very good. You were very good. You're very likable. Because quite often,
thank you.
We talked about this on the podcast and saying about how in a lot of modern horror movies you've got very unlikable characters, whereas in the 80s it tended to be kind of likable characters you could empathise with, and I thought Melody came across very much like that. So it was fun. It's a fun movie, isn't it? It's kind of and that's why I really enjoyed revisiting it. And I mean, do people mention it to you often, or is it?
Yeah, people do, especially at Halloween. I mean, I get asked to do all this stuff at Halloween because it's kind of a, so it's either on TV or they always show it somewhere. So a lot of people will say, hey, can you do an interview on Halloween about Phantom of the Mall? Because it's just so funny, and then Phantom of the Opera was so big after that. And, it's just so funny, the stuff that comes out of that stuff. And, at the time it was such a big deal for me because I hadn't had a lead in the movie. And I was pretty much about me and Rob, and, well, me and Erik, and some of those crazy scenes we had to do, it was kind of crazy. Anyway, so it was a really fun movie to do. Any movie in that era is just kind of a little different than now. I think people, I don't know, I think it's less about the shock value and more about kind of the creativity of a crazy movie.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask if there's any kind of other anecdotes you've got from the movie. Can you remember
kind
anything?
Of other what?
Any anecdotes, anything you can remember from making the time that kind of...
anecdotes. Let's see. I would say probably, we always just kind of laughed because, Rob and I always just kind of had a funny time because we were always like doing kind of crazy, funky dancing on set breaks and stuff.
Really?
But we always had some fun time. And Paulie, in that ice cream scene upstairs, that was his first movie also.
Yeah.
And he went on to become, pretty big after that. And we just always laugh about that. I don't know why that ice cream scene always just made us laugh. But, and then Morgan coming out, being all serious, but she's just, she's so pretty and everything's imperfect and her cleavage is out and her dress is tight. And Rob and I just couldn't look at her with a straight face sometimes because we just couldn't believe, just how she's just funny, just her look she's so beautiful, but her look was just so funny to me. And so we would just look at it and we'd just like try not to laugh, but we would start laughing. So there was a couple times that Rob and I got in a lot of trouble for not being able to shoot a scene because we were cracking up hysterically.
Oh, really?
So, trying to be all serious, it's kind of hard to be serious when you're talking about a phantom in a mall sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and, the director would be like, you guys, this is serious, we would just be dying because we're so sleep deprived. You haven't, slept hardly in, 3 weeks. And, so it ended up being kind of a real crazy time. But it was a really fun movie. And I made, I had a boyfriend that I really found from that movie who I was with for quite a while, who I think is a beautiful person. And then, just getting to know Paulie and Kimber Sessions was, you should try to reach out to her. I don't know what happened to her, but Kimber ended up being, a good friend for a long time. I know she had somebody's baby. I don't remember whose baby, but somebody's baby. And so that was kind of it. It was really cool chapter for me.
Excellent. Well, lastly, just say that you're obviously what you're doing now. You're incredibly successful, aren't you, in interior decoration in the kind of Los Angeles area? Is that right?
Yes, I am. That's kind of what my calling is. And, I loved acting, but it was never really something that I was super passionate about. I used to model when I was younger, and I kind of got thrown into the acting thing because I didn't know what else to do through commercials and just started auditioning. And I used to really, really love being an actress. But, I've always done design since I was a kid, and I've always had a knack for that. And had my parents been more aware of that, I think I would have even started and been more successful. So, but I've always just really gotten into decorating and designing homes, and so that's what I do now. And I have a lot of very successful clients and celebrity clients, and it's just really great. I've had a couple of my own TV shows, and right now I'm in talks about doing one on NBC, and so it's been really cool.
Excellent. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. I just sort of just like to say,
worries.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Carrie. I'll let you get back, and I hope your dog feels better soon.
Let me know how it goes.
I'll send you a link. And
All
also,
right.
I'll send you.
Enjoy your warm, cozy night.
Thank you, and have good luck with NBC and everything you're doing. So, thank you for being so great.
Keep a watch.
I will do.
Talk to you later.
Put it on for me.
I'm sorry, Eric. I can't.
I got this for you. I got this all for you.
I can't.
It's him, isn't it? Isn't it? Remember when we were kids? Remember that? And we vowed that we would always be together, that we would never let anything tear us apart. Well, I respected that vow.
I'm sorry, Eric. Things have changed.
See, I was just joking. That's not funny at all.
I'm sorry.
What was that noise?
It was me pulling my cheeks apart. Pulling my cheeks on my face.
Eric.
Face.
What? Eric.
Eric's pulling his
Please put your cheeks away, for Christ's sake. It was,
that should go at the end of the show, Justin.
Yes. Well, I think I've got so much material here that I might have to slip it in now. It was Eric. That was that talk about a revenge. But anyway, That was Carrie Whitman. So thank you ever so much, Carrie, for speaking to us. It was a real pleasure, and I hope you enjoyed listening back and hearing Erik disgrace himself there. But
I didn't know you were recording.
Sorry?
I didn't know you were recording.
Well,
there was a context to that. That people won't know because...
Well, exactly, but it's even more filthy, wasn't it, the context? So I think it's probably best that stays off
but
air.
Joseph started it.
Yes, okay. Well, I say we knew it. Any episode that had Erik's revenge in it, we knew probably would be slightly risque. So, have we got any background on the movie?
He would never really actually get his revenge.
Sorry?
He would never actually get his revenge. Ever.
Well, Erik?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because he's Erik. He's the fall guy. He's the fall guy of the podcast.
I'm the Jan.
Oh, Erik. You're the Jan of the podcast.
Yeah.
Or as we know, as IMDb has it, Inga of the podcast. So, Erik, actually, come to you first. Have you got any background on Phantom of the Mall?
I do. As you said, it was filmed at the Sherman Oaks Galleria, which is the same shopping mall location.
Commando.
Sorry?
Commando.
As Commando as well, is it? As shopping mall as well.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned in the interview, and you said it before as well, actually, so that's not new information. I'm sorry. The Vandals, who sing the punk rock song at the end, which is fantastic. Is there a phantom in the mall or just a retard in a broken hockey mask? What a great line.
Which we'll be playing out the podcast with later.
Sorry?
We'll be playing the podcast out with that song,
yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've released 10 full-length studio albums, so they weren't just some flash in the pan. Yes. They're from California, and they were formed in 1980. Tom Fridley, who plays the horrible, evil, despicable Justin, he's the son of Ellen Travolta, who was in the 1979 movie Human Experiments. She was also in Happy Days. So that makes him the nephew of John Travolta. And I think you can see the similarity there. He also played Court in Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Morgan Fairchild is not her real name.
Oh.
Did you know that? Her real name is Patsy Ann McClenny, which makes her sound like she's Scottish. The budget, as I said, was $2 million. And the one last bit of information I have is that it did get a theatrical release of some kind, because I found a website called Video Junkie, which is a blog, really, and he posted a newspaper clipping showing that it was on a local cinema in Kansas, along with Halloween 5 and Nightmare on Elm Street 5, which I think would be a nice triple bill. I know a lot of people would disagree, but I think that would make a nice triple bill back in October 1989.
Yeah, no, it sounds good.
And that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Erik. Nathan, do you have any background for us?
Well, not many people know this, but the whole movie is kind of a takeoff of an older film called The Phantom of the Opera.
Haven't heard of it.
I think some people, the people who are listening to the first part of the podcast, might have had a clue about that.
Oh, yeah, but y'all stole that from me.
Yeah, sorry, I spoiled that. Well, do you have anything else for us, Nathan, or the patented?
No.
No. Okay.
It did come out the same year as Dwight Little's take on Phantom of the Opera, starring Robert Englund.
Yes.
Which again is a film I saw in the cinema at the time, but haven't seen since. But I do remember kind of enjoying it.
I've never seen that. It's something I should catch up with. Joseph, do you have any background for us?
Yes, apparently an extra in the film at one point had put a knife to somebody else's throat, and one of the crew found out about it, and he went and told the director about it, and the director tried to get the guy fired, but the guy was like in some kind of union, and he had all of his union friends show up, and they killed the director and took over the mall, and then they had to get some like SWAT team to come in, and basically they burned the whole mall down, and they rebuilt it just for that movie, just so they could get it finished. And I don't have any background information, so I'm making stuff up.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I thought.
Well, thank you, Joseph,
You're
for that.
So immature.
In depth,
to be that immature.
Background, but I will give
Would
you some real background.
Would you say I have a 9 on an immaturity scale?
I think so.
Yes.
That's not the only 9.
God.
It's not like we're reviewing meatballs or porkies or something.
Right?
We should. I think.
Did you know, actually, I have the film on the background here. The sound mixer on the film was called Prometheus Patient.
Okay.
That's an interesting name.
That is an interesting name. Well, thank you.
Yeah. If it used to
did
be
you know?
like, is he like the Morgan Fairchild of
Sound mixing.
sound guys? Yeah.
I don't know. But I beat Justin in the quiz.
Yes, Eric. Well, you beat me in the second part of the quiz, didn't you?
Yeah, by a bigger margin than you beat me in the first part of the quiz.
You know, Eric, I said that there is no part 1 and part 2 to this quiz, so you don't get bragging rights.
Well, no, I beat
I'm the one that should
I
have
beat
bragging
Justin overall
rights.
then.
Nathan is the only one with bragging rights.
Justin was the one who
Yeah.
said he beat me in the first part of the quiz, but there was no first part of the quiz, Justin.
Well, there was. It's not like some kind of weird kind of.
He said that after you said I beat
Inception
Justin
style
in the
thing.
quiz.
Yeah, I beat Justin in the quiz. Fair enough. Just deal with it, Justin. Just get over it. God. Get over it, Justin.
No, but actually, Eric, if I can make a point of order, you said earlier that I didn't beat you in the quiz earlier. No, Nathan didn't beat you because you. I can't remember, but it was something along those lines that
No, you're
defeats
just making
your
stuff up.
argument. So take that.
God, I can't believe you keep bringing it up. I just want to live my life in peace or something.
Do you? Or as Morgan said.
Keep it up.
So, right. Okay, well, here's some real background to the movie. And this is really true, most of it. Okay, and some of it actually is more bizarre,
Most of it.
perhaps, than what Joseph said. So hold on to your hats. Right, the film was, as Erik said, show at Oaks Galleria, but stood in for the fictional or fictitious even Midwood Mall. The makeup was done, as I said earlier, was by the people who did The Kindred. And apparently the director, Richard Friedman, didn't want the burn makeup to be too realistic because he wanted a kind of a cheesy, not too horrible kind of thing. And there's a great quote in a copy of Fangoria I have from Richard Friedman, who was the 30-year-old director when he made it. And he said, "I had no intention of letting this become a slasher with a disfigured guy running around with a high body count." That is kind of pretty much what it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, but so I'm not quite sure what I had in mind. But interestingly, the film, although it was shot in September 1988, the script was knocking around as early as 1984. So it would have been interesting to see what would have been. It obviously it was written to cash in on the slasher movie boom at the tail end of the slasher movie boom. So it would have been interesting. I wonder what it would have been like. It would have probably been maybe it was kind of it came about after the initiation, with that whole mall thing. So maybe it was a kind of they were trying to cash in on that. I don't know, but it was optioned in 1986, but it took until 1988 to actually to be made. Now, interestingly, I got in contact with Derek Rydell, who plays Derek. Erik plays Erik in the film, and he was nice enough to get back to me and say he's in a different place now. But I did a little bit of research into what Derek does now, and I still can't quite work it out. But it's some kind of spiritual, motivational thing for people working in the entertainment industry. And I mean, he seems like a lovely chap, but it did sound quite strange, his bio, because it says that he had a near-death experience. I don't know what that was. Maybe it was making this movie. I don't know, because he went on to make Popcorn, and the next year or the year after, which is another great movie. And he said when he had his near-death experience, he went away and meditated for 2 years and decided to become a monk. And then decided not to be a monk, but to start this kind of spiritual thing. And it says he adopted a monk. So I'm not quite sure what that means, how you adopt a monk. Whether or not there's some kind of shelters where you find monks that need homes. I don't know. But
how much is that monk in the window?
So that was all a little bit strange. I found a review from the LA Times for this film. And I'll just read a little bit of it. It says, as you can probably guess, they didn't like this movie very much. But it says, this schlock slasher version of LaRue's Shocker, with a phantom turned into a burned, vengeful teen prowling the air tunnels of a posh suburban mall, is hands down the most inept, pointless, puerile, and inane film I've ever seen. So that's one for the jacket of the DVD. It goes on to say that makers of bad movies should hold their breath in awe after watching this one. Scarcely a scene isn't gross or ridiculous. Scarcely a performance isn't forced or shallow. Scarcely a line of dialogue isn't a burbling, awkward cliche. There's a perfection of awfulness here that almost commands respect. It can't have been easy to keep going on this picture after a look or two at the results. So you can pretty much say that they didn't like the film. I mean, obviously, I think they're being incredibly harsh on it. And obviously, I would imagine Mariella Frostop possibly was kinder. But interesting, one thing it did come away, it says that it was promoted saying that people shouldn't go to the movie if they had high blood pressure because it was so scary and exciting.
Exciting possibly, scary no.
No. But, I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, that's pretty much everything I've got, apart from, I was going to say, Rob Estes. I can't remember if we mentioned it. We might have mentioned it off air, but he's gone on to have a very, very successful career on TV. But he was also in one of my favourites, and I can't remember if we talk about this on air or off air. So anyway, say again, The Uninvited, which is the killer mutant cat movie set on a yacht, which is worth checking out. Of course, I did mention I said I was going to watch going to watch it for my birthday pizza bash, but I think I can't think of anything else apart from it talked about a little bit about saying it's quite bloody, wasn't it? And the FX obviously by I said before, the guys who did The Kindred, but it had that kind of thing again, didn't it? With like by the late 80s, the gore in movies was toned down quite a lot, wasn't it? When you compare this to say something like Intruder, which is pretty much the same year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the same year.
So this is kind of toned down quite considerably. Yeah. But
it reminded me kind of like of Cutting Class and Rush Week, that's the kind of gore level possibly to expect. But I thought it was better than those two films, personally.
No.
Yes.
Actually,
Okay.
I think the other two are better.
Yes, much better.
Yeah, I gotta go with...
I like this more than Cutting Class and Rush Week, I have to say.
Yeah. It's interesting that Carrie said, obviously I loved the fact that she said that they were, that Morgan Fairchild, they had a real tough time trying to keep a straight face around her because she was so pretty and perfect. But also that she said that they did talk about doing a sequel to the film, and there was talk about it, and it didn't happen because their schedules conflicted. So it would have been interesting to see how they would have gone with a sequel. One last little bit of kind of 7 degrees or 6 degrees, whatever, 7 degrees of separation, was that Fry's Entertainment, who made this movie, were the distributors in the US on video of Anthropophagus, the Joe D'Amato movie.
Fry's,
yes.
Anthropophagus.
So I think that is pretty much everything, the background that I have on the movie. I don't think it'd be interesting. It'd be nice to see it get a decent release because I don't think it's got any kind of... all the releases have been pretty crappy full screen releases, so I'd quite like to see a proper release of it at some point. But I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a great beer and pizza movie. So if you like that, if you like the late 80s slashers, then it's definitely worth checking out. So, any last words on Phantom of the Mall?
I'm still going to stick with I'm stuck somewhere in the middle on the movie.
Fair enough. And Nathan, any closing?
I liked it.
Good. And Erik,
don't like it, but I don't hate it.
Okay.
But I wish it could have been as good as Last Slumber Party. That's all I'm saying.
Very few films are, Nathan.
Yeah,
thank you.
Quality. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move on to the limited feedback, because what we did, we put out a request for feedback saying we were recording earlier this week, and we had one person write in. So thank you so much for all our loyal fans out there for supporting the show. We love you.
You really love me.
But we'll come back with that. We're just going to read out how to get in contact with the show. Now you've got 3 weeks until the next show, until we record the next show. So plenty of time to send in feedback. So we want to hear from you. And here's how.
Be sure to search for and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at THC_podcast. Our voicemail is 858-233-9281. And you can email us directly at the.hysteria.continues@gmail.com.
Okay.
Michael's coming! Michael's coming!
Yes. Well, okay. Well, I'm just going to get it up, as it were. And we haven't had I think, because we can't let it go without a little...
Matron, no, please! Oh, your hand!
So,
I just have one... Sorry, I just spotted one bit of trivia about Phantom of the Mall that I didn't pick up on.
Too late.
Scream Queen Brink Stevens appears as Lady in Dressing Room.
Oh, really?
In the dressing rooms that have no doors or curtains.
Oh, the ones where the security guards are ogling the ladies.
Yes.
Right.
Apparently Brink Stevens was one of the girls.
Well, they did quite a those, because didn't Linnea Quigley was like naked lady in the shower, wasn't she, in Fatal Games? So they did quite of those kind of body double, or not body double, but those kind of
stunt boobs.
Stunt boobs, yes. Right.
Brink Stevens was naked lady in shower in Fatal Games.
Oh, she was, wasn't she? She got
That was kind of weird.
Brink Stevens was naked lady in every movie she's been in.
Yeah.
Which is true, yes. Okay, right. Well, I've got one bit of feedback, and this is from Javier in New York City. And I'm glad to Javier, because I can say your name, and I know that's probably the reason nobody writes in, isn't it? Because we can't pronounce anyone's names. But he says,
because they're all
Justin.
from Toronto.
Yes. Well, we've put our kind of geography mistakes behind us, haven't we? So,
no.
Javier says, "Hi Justin, hi guys. Just a tidbit about The Caller." And The Caller was a film that I mentioned last week, and he doesn't make any spoilers because I know Erik, you've not seen it, have you? I think
which film? Sorry,
The Caller. The one that I mentioned.
Seen it,
no, but I know Nathan and Joseph have seen it, haven't they?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, well, he says, just a tidbit about The Caller. When I saw the film a few months ago via Netflix streaming, I didn't even know it had been filmed in my native land of Puerto Rico. Did you know it wasn't filmed in the US?
Yeah, I knew it was in Mexico somewhere.
I didn't.
Okay. Is Puerto Rico in Mexico? That's not... No, it's its own state, isn't it? It's an island.
Puerto Rico...
It's his own country, yeah.
Its own country.
Puerto Rico's Central America, so it's close enough to Mexico, I believe.
Okay, so it's an American protectorate, isn't it, I think? I've been there.
I think. I don't know. Once. I'm not very good at geography.
Yeah, but it's near Toronto. Okay. That's because I don't read much about a movie's plot before I see it. I didn't want to come across spoilers, so it's very pleasing to me to soak up that atmosphere and recognise some of those legendary Puerto Rican actors that I grew up watching that have small roles throughout the film. Imagine my surprise during the cemetery scene where Rochelle's character is grieving over her discovery, and this strange old woman stands next to her and utters a couple of lines. It's Lydia, and I won't be able to pronounce this, Echeverria. To make this short story, and this is a true story, Lydia Echeverria, a TV host, film and theatre actress, was married for over 2 decades to producer show host Louis Vigouroux. During the 60s and 70s, they co-hosted together some hit contest shows for Puerto Rican television and became one of the island's most famous couples. I still remember seeing Louis host a version of the skating spectacular Holiday on Ice when they came to Puerto Rico, and the first time in my life I saw a famous person live. They had 2 daughters. Lydia was, and is, one hell of a good actress. But in the early 1980s, Louis had an affair with a model, the sort of tabloid-type scandal that kept the island buzzing. He was later found burnt to death inside his car. In 1996, Lydia was accused of arranging the murder, found guilty and sentenced to 208 years in prison. Her trial was one of the most sensational in the island's history. In 1999, and after her health had deteriorated, the governor allowed her out on curfew. In 2008, one of her daughters committed suicide. Lydia still acts. I found a cameo role in The Caller both poignant and rather eerie, considering some of the themes in the movie. It certainly added an unexpected layer to the film's psychological mosaic for those who know her and her backstory. She wasn't until recently credited on the IMDb cast list for the film. So that's kind of interesting tidbit. And he also goes on to say, thank you guys for the mention of that newfound footage film, Unaware. I was seeking it out. I want to find out what's hiding in the barn. What will it be? The rotting head of Mrs. Voorhees surrounded by candles, a kitty cat flushing the toilet, a disco dancing maniac in a Mickey Mouse mask, or is it Inga mooning passers-by? That last one was wishful thinking, he says in brackets. Please don't give it away. The plot twist, I mean. And he says Besos, which I presume is thank you, or best. Well,
kisses, I think, isn't it?
Is it?
Well,
okay.
Let me just say about Unaware that when they reveal what's in the barn,
yeah,
I just wonder how much did they pay you, Eric, to hide in there?
Yes, Eric, do tell.
They paid me 3 chunky Kit Kats.
Gosh, you
one
are
of them
cheap.
was a caramel one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're not that cheap then.
I'm hungry.
Well, that is the end of the feedback, and because we haven't got anything else, so please do write in and let us know, or phone in. It's always good to get a voicemail, isn't it, from our loyal listeners, wherever you may be, all 4 of you. So, who is up next time?
It is me, Erik. I believe.
Eric.
Yes.
Eric, what do you have for us?
Okay, I'm going to go for a Mario Bava double bill. The supporting feature is going to be $5 for an August Moon, the rather strange and kitsch furniture-tastic Giallo.
Yep.
And the main feature is going to be his classic Bay of Blood, aka Bloodbath, aka Twitch of the Death Nerve.
Brilliant.
Very nice.
Fantastic. Well, that should be interesting. So join us for that. And before we play out with the Vandals, the theme tune from Phantom and the Mall, have you got anything you want to say to our loyal listeners?
I love you all.
I love you.
Oh.
I love about 99.9% of you all.
Okay. Well, that's marvellous. Well, thank you for listening, and join us again next time. So, over and out.
Don't need to die to pick sleep to get the things I need. Don't got much in this town, but it's been good enough for me. Don't need no frozen yogurt, don't want no GHQ. Just want a chance to grow up in the same town where I met you. Is there a panel in the mall? Folks abound to ask, is he the phantom of the mall? Or just some retard in a broken hockey mask? Baby girls from food salesman ain't my idea of fun. I can pick up my boots and trousers down where I get my gun. Almost everything here is geared to make me sick, except those boxy outfits they wear at hot dog on a stick. Is there a phantom in the mall? Folks are bound to ask, is he the phantom of the mall? Or just some retard in a broken hockey mask?
Sitting on the toilet. I'm the only one that never has to take a loo break.
Why don't you tell it to the guy who fucked you last night and never called you back?